Everyone, welcome to your class tonight. And this is a class that's much better than a traditional class because we're here talking about dogs and dog training. Tonight we're covering a very important topic. It seems to be a more popular topic currently, so that's why we're going to cover it tonight, but it is playing tug with your dog. All right, we're going to be talking about a couple things. I'm going to give you some background discussion on playing tug. We're going to be talking about the rules of tug. We're going to be talking about the principles that you should be following while you're developing your rules, while you're developing your tug play with your dog. We're going to be talking about how to present a proper target with a tug to your dog. That's very important. All right, we're going to be talking about your movements as a handler, how you should be maneuvering your body, right? Some things you should be considering. And then we're going to be talking about what if you have a dog that's kind of halfway interested in playing tug? What are some things that you can do to increase that drive, that prey drive to play tug, especially if you want to really play tug with your dog. This is something that I did with one of my personal dogs. I had to spend a lot of time developing the drive for tug, and now they love playing tug, okay? I do just want to refer you real quick to Pack Talk Podcast. That's our podcast. You can refer to that on YouTube or your favorite podcasting channel. You'll probably find some of those podcasts beneficial, and we do talk a little bit about tug play in a variety of those episodes, all right? So to kick it off, first of all, we're going to be talking about a background on tug. Now, traditionally, there's been some myths about the game of tug. Some people think that you should not be playing tug with your dog because your dog is dominating you. That's what some people will say to you, all right? And that's false, 100% false. What's happening in the game of tug, if we develop these rules that we're going to go through and we follow these principles, tug can be a very great way to build a bond between you and your dog. And this bond development, this bond building that we're doing through the game of tug will actually help to solidify your relationship with your dog and your pack structure with your dog, okay? And that's due to some of the rules of the tug play. The other thing that it's going to help you do is build up engagement with your dog. Your dog will want to pay more attention to you. Your dog will want to hang out with you more. Your dog will want to do things with you, right? Because of the bond and the development that we have with the game of tug, all right? And then also, what the game of tug also allows us to do is another way of socializing our dog. Instead of using food rewards, instead of using no rewards, we can use a tug reward to help us achieve our socialization goals with our dog in a different type of manner, all right? And then for a very small select few people that are working dog handlers, police dogs or military working dogs, things like that, search and rescue dogs, okay? The game of tug can be used as a reward in these scenarios as well, but we can also help develop some of the muscle memory for our dog and the habits for our dog through tug play that will help us in those fields specifically, okay? We're not going to delve into that too much, but just know that tug play will help you in those fields, but you might have to make some tweaks to it to help you meet your goals, all right? So next we're going to cover the rules of tug play, and as you guys are watching, feel free to drop a comment, right? If you have a comment, question, drop it below. We'll address that as we go. And then if you're watching this after it's already been posted, after it's live, continue to drop comments. We do appreciate those. We read as many as possible. We've been getting a ton of comments on our videos lately, and we're trying to keep up with them. All right, but if you have questions, we're going to try and get back to you. You can also email us at info@caninerevolutiondogtraining.com. We'll be more than happy to respond to you guys. And if you want to see future things, future subjects in future videos, let us know that as well, because we do take your comments and we make videos based on what you guys are looking for. All right, so the rules of tug. Okay, rule number one is that all toys, and in this case toys are what we're playing tug with, all toys belong to the owner or the handler, right? So this tug right here, for example, right? This belongs to, let's just say I'm the owner. This belongs to me, okay? I determine where it is stored at in the house, and I store it in a place that is not accessible by the dog on its own, right? So I store it somewhere where only I can have access to it. I own the toy, but there are times where I'm going to bring the toy out and we are going to play together. And then when that play is done, I'm going to put the toy away. All right, so that is the relationship that we need to have with the tug, right? Our dog does not need to think that they own the toy. We own the toy, all right? And we are going to use this toy to have a very fun interaction with our dog, right, with these rules. And then when that interaction is over, when it's done, we're going to take the toy away, we're going to put the toy away and proceed from there, okay? So that's rule number one. All toys belong to the owner or the handler. This is a little bit different than your traditional lay around the house toys if you have a pet dog. Okay, if you have that squeaky ball or that Kong or that alien squeaking toy that you let your dog play with, those are different. Still, I would follow the rule that they all belong to me. I will take them out at times, let you play with them, but then whenever playtime's over, I'll take them away. That's a whole nother discussion. Specifically, we're talking about tugs in the game of tug, in the playing tug game, right? Rule number two, you, the dog, I'm talking to the dog, you, the dog, must bring the toys back to me. Hard concept there, right? So let's say I'm playing tug with my dog, which I'll go into the details of how you're going to develop this game. But let's say you let your dog have the tug and they're running around with it, they're having a good time, and we want that. We want our dog to have a good time. We want them to have possession of the tug, right? But you need to bring that toy back to me. You don't get to walk off underneath that tree over there and start chewing on it and destroy the tug. Nope, that's not going to happen. The tug is for an interaction between dog and handler, right? So you need to make sure you're bringing that tug back to me. I'm going to talk to you tonight about how to develop that. And with that being said, we are putting together a number of videos. We're creating a tug playing playlist on YouTube to show you guys what we're doing. But tonight we're just doing the discussion portion, the lecture portion of playing tug, all right? So rule number two, the dog must bring the toys to the handler. So if I let you win a toy, which I will do, right? We'll talk about how to determine what time during your tug play to do that, but you must bring the toys back to me, okay? Rule number three, you must release or out the toy when asked, right? So if I'm playing tug with you, right, and you being the dog, if I'm playing tug with the dog, right, whenever I say out, or whenever I say release or let go, whatever word you want to use, you have to teach this to the dog, which I'll tell you how to do tonight, right? Whenever I give that word out, you must let it go. Okay, so we have to teach our dog to do that, all right, which we'll talk about tonight. Okay, so those are the three rules of tug play. Number one, all toys belong to the owner. Number two, the dog must bring the toys back to the handler or the owner. Number three, the dog must release the toy when asked. Okay, so we try to keep it simple. These are three primary rules we're going to have in tug play. Okay, and now we're going to be talking about the principles of tug play. And the principles of tug play help us achieve the rules, because all these rules we have to teach our dog, right? I'm talking to you guys right now on this video, and it's easy for me to communicate to you because we both speak a verbal language. We both understand a verbal language. Remember, your dog does not communicate in a verbal language, right? Your dog communicates in silent language. We must show our dog how to achieve these goals. We have to teach these rules to our dog in a non-verbal manner. And that takes us, the owners, taking action, deliberate action to learn how to communicate to a dog in a non-verbal manner. And you have already shown, right, the discipline needed to teach this to your dog by watching this video, right? Because you're trying to learn how to communicate to your dog in a non-verbal manner. You're increasing your personal education in this field, all right? So now let's talk about the principles of tug play. I've got them listed here. Hopefully you can read them. We're going to talk through them real quick, all right? So the first principle is that when you're playing tug with your dog, when you are teaching this to your dog is going to be in high arousal or high drive, right? They're mostly going to be in prey drive. Some dogs, when you're playing tug, they will go into a little bit of defense drive, but primarily your dog's going to be in high arousal, high drive, prey drive. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because your dog cannot think very clearly when it is operating in high arousal, high drive, prey drive, okay? Let's say you've got your dog hanging out at your house. It's just hanging out. It's in a neutral environment. There's not much going on. Maybe you have some food rewards. Your dog's like, oh, sure, I'll take that, right? Or maybe you're just hanging out, okay? With that being said, in those scenarios, your dog can think clearly, right? If you're sitting on your couch and you ask your dog to give you a paw and it gives you a paw, there's nothing bringing the dog's mindset up, right? But when I'm playing with a ball, right? And you guys know this when you have dogs that are into balls, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? If you're playing with a tug, and those of you that have played tug with your dog already, you know what I'm talking about when your dog's in high arousal. Or if your dog's ever chased a squirrel, right? Your dog's in high arousal, or a cat, or whatever, okay? So when your dog's in high arousal, it is harder for your dog to think and process information. So what that means is we have to take our time, we have to be patient ourselves, and we have to be very deliberate and clear about how we are teaching these rules to our dog and how we're doing the game of tug, okay? So just keep that in mind. Your dog's going to be in high arousal, high drive. They're not going to be thinking clearly. You're going to have to help develop them in this mindset, okay? Second principle I want to talk about is use a leash to help you teach the rules. All right, a lot of people are like, I don't need a leash, right? I don't want to have a leash on. The leash is literally a line of communication for you and your dog, all right? So again, because our dog is going to be in high arousal, because our dog is going to be having difficulty thinking and processing information in high drive, this leash will help us to teach the rules. The leash will help us communicate to our dog. Your leash is a line of communication. All right, so with that being said, use a leash to help you. And then as you develop this game, as you develop this skill set, you can get away from the leash. All right, once we have trained our dog and taught our dog the rules, and we have taught them how to think calmly, even in high arousal, which is a challenge, okay? All right, next principle I want to talk about, and if you guys are just popping into the conversation, feel free to drop a comment, feel free to drop a question. We're going over how to play tug with your dog. Already in this video, we've covered the background on tug. We've covered the rules of tug. We're currently covering the principles of tug. All right, so the next principle we're going to be talking about is always be aware of the target that you are presenting to your dog. This is so critical. All right, 99% of the time when you are playing tug with your dog, if your dog bites your hand, it's your fault. Reality check, 99% of the time. If your dog bites your hand when you're playing tug, it's your fault. Why is it your fault? Because you gave a bad target, all right? And I'm going to be discussing targets next, right? Currently we're covering principles, then I'm going to be covering targets. But real quick, right? Let's say this is you, right? Let's say I'm looking at you from the top down. All right, this is you, this is your dog, okay? And let's say you're playing tug with your dog, okay? And this little line right here is the tug, okay? If I keep my tug in a straight line, that's not straight. If I keep my tug in a straight line from the dog, when the dog comes in to bite this tug, it has a very clear target. You see that? Straight line, not difficult to bite onto. Does that make sense? Okay? I'm going to change this real quick now. So you guys get that concept. We're keeping it in a straight line. That's a clear target. Okay? Now let's say this is you, this is your dog, this is your tug. Okay? Now let's say as your dog is coming in, instead of keeping it in a straight line, now you pull it behind you. That's not a clear target. That's when your dog will accidentally, potentially bite your hand. So let me show you in real time, okay? I've got a tug right here. We'll talk about targeting here in a second, okay? You, the camera, you guys on the video, you guys are my dog. So if you're coming right at me and I keep the tug straight, it's very easy for you to come in and grab that tug right there, right? If I keep it straight, in line with you and your approach, right? But You guys watching, you guys are the dog. I am the handler, the owner. I'm your owner. I've got your tug right here. I'm pulling the tug, and now I pull the tug at a curve, okay? So notice you're coming in. Notice what's in your way, my hand. So if I was a straight target right here, you'd be able to bite the middle of that tug. If I had curved this as I'm backing away from you, now my hand's in the way. Now you have bitten my hand. Now I'm like, why the hell did you do that? Blah, 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 right? My fault. My fault, okay? Just keep that in mind. So the principle is always be aware of the target that you are presenting. Remember that 99% of the time, if your dog bites your hand, it's your fault. So if your dog continuously is nicking your hand or nipping your hand while you're playing, you need to reevaluate your targeting. You need to reevaluate how you are moving in relation to your dog and the tug, right? Now, the other 1% of the time that a dog might accidentally bite your hand is out of frustration. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to operate with the tug. They're in high arousal, they're in high drive, they're in prey drive. You've got the tug item that you're playing with. You're playing, right? They are feeling frustrated because they don't know how to play. They don't know what to do, right? Because you're watching this video, you're going to know what to do. But people that are not watching this video, they don't know what to do. The dog gets frustrated, and the dog bites the people's hand, right? So that's the other 1% of the time. All right. Next principle is to keep it simple and to be patient, all right? So with that being said, we've talked about a couple rules. We've talked about the principles. You may feel like this whole playing tug thing is getting complicated, right? You might have to watch this video a couple times to really understand all these different factors that we're talking about and our upcoming playlist on playing tug and developing tug. But for you and your dog, keep it simple. Have a good time. Be patient. If your dog is struggling with a piece of tug and you're trying to develop the game, let us know. We'll probably try to make a video and post it on YouTube to show you how we would troubleshoot through that process, okay? Last but not least, principles. You and your dog should be having fun, having a good time, right? If you're not having fun, if you are getting frustrated, if your dog's getting frustrated, you probably need to take a break, right? Probably need to end the session, go inside, go for a walk, or whatever. You know, when I was developing this with my Doberman Bane, there was times where I was frustrated because I really wanted to play tug really bad. I had done some bad training before I learned about how to train the proper way, right? So there was frustration between us, right? There was low drive from him because I had kind of crushed that with the bad training that I had done before I learned about the proper way to train, right? So don't go down that road, right? You and your dog should be having fun, having a good time, right? If you're not having a good time, not having fun, take a break for a while, take a week off, then come back and try to play tug, right? Study some more, practice some more yourself without your dog, and then come back and play tug, okay? All right.
Dale says she learned the hard way playing tug. Many occasions I would get mad at him. It took me a while to understand. Poor guy was like, why is she so mad?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Again, 99% of the time, that's gonna be our fault, right? But you're watching this video, you're learning. We're all learning along this process. There's all things that we could have done better back in the day, but we're here to get better and develop ourselves and our relationship.
Jay says, what training method is the best for getting a dog to bite the tug into the back of his teeth?
We'll talk about that in a second, Jay. Good question. We'll talk about that in a second. All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about targets, okay? So we already talked about being aware of the target that you are presenting and make sure that you're presenting a straight target. So remember that diagram that we just drew, right? So with targeting, okay, you are not moving this tug around your body, okay? Can you see this really good? All right, so let's say that the camera is where my dog is and I'm trying to play tug. My dog's gonna be coming to me. You can leave it right there, but let's just say my dog's coming to me. Just notice, if I want my dog to bite this tug, I'm gonna have to move it around my body, right? Look at that. I've already curved the tug, so now my hand's in the way. My hand is getting bit, which we don't want, right? And Gail said she learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way too back in the day, right? So what you're going to do is move your body out of the way of the tug to make sure that you continue to present the tug in a straight line. All right, you may have to practice this without your dog because sometimes you'll be backing up like this. You'll have to move your body out of the way and keep the tug in a straight line. Okay? Sometimes you'll be running away from your dog like this, which is fine. Okay? But some people are tempted when you're moving away from your dog to pull the tug in front of your body, right? You got to keep conscious thought of keeping that tug in a straight line. Okay? So in general, the most common movements we're going to make is we're going to be backing up. So if you're backing up, all you're going to do is just move your feet away and your body away and continue to let the tug carry on in a straight line away from your dog. Okay? If you're moving sideways, sometimes you're moving sideways, you're just going to move like this, or you're going to move like this. Okay? So you're going to be sidestepping, keeping the tug in a straight line away from your dog. Sometimes you'll be having the dog behind you, so your tug will be off to the side like this, and your priority is to keep this tug in a straight line right here. So you're just going to be very conscious of that. Those are the most common ways we're going to be maneuvering, okay? Also talking about targets, okay? Notice that this tug right here, if I was to hold it with one hand, it would not be a very stable target, right? So in general, while you're still developing your tug play, I would hold it with two hands, one on each side of the tug, and the tug available in the middle is the target area for your dog. Okay, if you hold it like this, okay, this is a pretty stiff tug, but some tugs kind of are a little bit flimsy a little bit. And so again, if the dog bites onto that, they might miss it a little bit, they might bite your hand, okay? So keep the tug as stable of a target as possible. It's easy to do with the tug like this, okay? You don't want to be doing it like this with the handle, okay, because that's just all over the place. The dog's probably just going to go for your hand because your hand is the most stable target. Okay. Now, let's talk about a ball on a string. All right, this is on a leather strap that I made. Okay, most of these come with like a string. So if you hold the ball like this, it's moving all over the place, right? So your dog is most likely just going to go right here and grab the leather strap or grab your hand. So when you're playing tug with a ball, you have to keep the ball stable as well. And so what I recommend is with a ball like this, which is, do you remember what the link was? Starlink ball? Stark foam ball, okay, on Amazon. I would generally hold the ball like this, where it's nice and stable, and I'm going to be moving the same way, keeping the ball in a straight line away from my dog. As soon as my dog grabs onto this, then I'll slack out to the string, and the dog can tug on the ball, right? Or if you have a nice leather strap like I made here, you can hold it on the strap itself, okay? So you can hold it like this to keep it steady, or you can hold the strap itself like this. That ball's pretty stable. When the dog comes in, you slack out, and then you can play tug like that, okay? So those are the keys to targeting, is keeping that tug as stable as possible, moving it in a straight line away from the dog, okay? Making sure that you're moving your body around the tug. The tug doesn't move around your body. You move away and around from the tug, okay? Whether that be a normal tug or a ball on a string. Okay, so that covers the targets and the handler movements, all right? With that being said, pros and cons, which one's better? There's a bunch of different materials of tug that you can get. All right, this one I believe is some kind of bite suit material probably, okay, some kind of fabric. In general, tugs are going to be made out of fire hose, bite suit fabric, jute, things like this. The differences in the fabric, all right, they can make it easier or harder for your dog to bite down on. So I do recommend when you're starting to play tug, you get some type of bite suit material tug. And then if you want to make it more challenging for your dog, go to a fire hose tug, because those are harder to hold on to, all right? Ball on a string, these foam balls are my favorite. There's a wide variety of them out there. You can get them on Amazon. The benefit to doing a ball on a string versus a tug like this, all right? Let's say I have a normal tug and I'm playing with my dog. you're going to be putting a ton of effort into this, right? So let's say your dog's on the tug, you're putting a lot of effort. Even if you went to the handle and your dog is biting on the tug itself, you're still doing a lot of manual labor yourself playing with your dog versus ball and a string. Once my dog's on this, I just kind of hold on to the end. Of course, I can pop it, right? I can put some movement into that, but overall, my dog's playing with the ball. When they pull against it, of course, it puts tension on the line, and then they're just thrashing the ball. So less manual work for you as the handler. So
How do you know what is the right size tug or ball and string for your dog? Can the tug be too big or too small for your dog?
yes, good question. So we had a question. How do you know what size tug you should be using for your dog? Can one be too big or too small? Basically, you want to think about the firmness of it. So let's say you have a puppy, right? A puppy could technically, this is probably 2 inches thick, right, or 2 inches wide. A puppy could technically play with this. I would go with probably a 1-inch tug at first, or a puppy bite rag. That's a great way to play tug. It's usually like a leather rag you can play with your puppy, right? And then once you get up to like a medium or a full-size dog, then you would go to a 2-inch size tug, right? This is like your standard tug size. The firmness, the hardness of the tug is going to be important, right? So for most dogs playing tug, you just want normal, moderate firmness. You don't want it to be overly stuffed where it's hard for the dog to bite onto. Because once your dog bites onto this, right, when they grip this, that is reinforcing to them. It's releasing chemicals in their brain where it feels good to hold on to this, right? So if you have a tug that is too hard to bite onto, too thick, too firm, some dogs might not enjoy that, while others you might want to increase that hardness of the tug to make it more challenging for them, all right? And I will say, Jay, that we've already put together a YouTube video that I think we're releasing soon where I cover a variety of those options for you guys to check out. And in that video, I cover tugs like this. I also cover tug pillows, which are like a pillow type tug, okay? But yes, very important question. It does matter. Start off small, start off soft, and then build up hardness if you want to, depending on what type of dog you have.
That video come out Friday.
What's up?
That video will be coming out.
That video is coming out Friday, Jay. All right. All right, so we've covered targets, we've covered handler movements. All right, let's talk about the out. Okay, then I'm going to cover how to build up drive. And we do have a video coming about the out if we haven't posted it already. All right. When you're playing tug with your dog, can you grab me a leash real quick, just an empty leash? Whenever you're playing tug with your dog, like I said earlier, you're going to be using a leash to help you teach the rules. All right. So what I recommend to teach the out is that you have a leash on your dog's training collar, and this could be a fur saver training collar, it could be a choke chain, it could be a martingale, it could be a prong collar. Any of the above will work, all right? You're gonna have your leash attached to your dog's collar, and then you're just gonna be generally holding your leash in a loose grip fashion, all right? The purpose of the leash when you're doing this is to, number one, help build up the behavior of your dog coming back to you when you've let them win the tug. And then number two, as you teach your dog to out, if they are failing to out, which most dogs will, because remember, they're going to be in high arousal, high drive. So when they are failing to out, all you're going to do is say no and give a quick leash pop. That dog should release at that point, and then you're going to immediately reward them, right, by playing tug again. And the reason why that's important is if you say out and then you always end the game, your dog is going to start hating giving the tug up. They're going to start hating outing the tug. All right, so we don't want that to happen. We want to maintain drive. We want to maintain motivation. How do we do that? We highly value, reward the out, right? So the overall basic concept of teaching the out, you're playing tug with your dog. I recommend 2 hands on the tug when you're doing the out. 1 hand on the leash. So in general, I'm right-handed, so I'll hold the leash in my left hand, okay, just like this with the tug. I'll hold my left hand on the left side of the tug, right hand on the right side, my dog's in the middle, right with their mouth. I'm playing tug with them, they're in front of me. I'm doing a slight backing up motion because I want to promote my dog moving to me. A lot of dogs genetically, they're going to want to pull that tug away from you, right? Which is okay at times, but we also want our dog comfortable moving with us and playing tug, okay? So we back up. As soon as we're ready to say out, you're going to place your hand, you're basically going to bring your knees about shoulder width, all right? You're going to place your hands with the tug on it right on top of your knees, and you're going to use your lats and you're going to lock that tug basically into your knees, okay? As soon as you do that, you're going to say out, okay? Your dog's going to be pulling on this. The goal is to keep the tug stationary, because now that the tug is not moving at all, your dog should have a quick gap in high arousal. Ideally, let go of the tug. As soon as they let go, you say yes, and then you back up again and give them the tug again, okay? So keep in mind, right? Be aware of the target you are presenting. So if I'm working with my dog on this, I lock it into my knees, I lock it in with my lats. My dog's pulling on this, they're getting no reinforcement because it won't move. They let go. I say yes. I have to back up with the tug. Notice I'm not bringing it right here. That wouldn't be good. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I say yes. I move my legs out of the way and I move the tug in a straight line away from the dog. Okay, that's super important, all right? But let's say we're having an issue. I'm teaching the out, right? I pull this into my knees. I lock my lats. I lock this tug in. It's not moving, and I say out, and my dog is not outing. In that case, I'm going to say no. Pop on the leash. Dog should let go. I say yes, and then I release them into the tug again to play tug again. All right? That is the ideal way to teach the out. However, there are going to be a lot of dogs that have some difficulty with that because they have crazy prey drives. All right? So with that being said, if you're struggling with the out, what I recommend is definitely using a prong collar, because that will help you get through to the dog through their mindset, through their high arousal. It'll help you get through to them and help to communicate that when you say that word, they need to let go. The other thing you can do is start teaching the out by playing fetch with your dog, right? Develop some out with the fetch, and then once you have it developed there, as well as with tug, it should get better overall. Okay? With that being said, let me talk about how to teach the out by playing fetch very quickly. Okay? The basic concept. So let's say you're playing with your dog, you're playing fetch with your dog, okay? Because this ties in to, let me draw a little doggy here. I know you guys like my drawings. Playing fetch, outing and fetch does tie into outing with tug. It can really help each other out. Okay, so let's say you're playing fetch with a chuck it ball. Okay, you're going to have one ball in your hand, the other ball you're going to be throwing, right? So you throw a ball, it lands over here, and we're also posting a YouTube video on this very soon if we haven't already with our trainer Chris. Okay, he was teaching a dog. In general, we're going to have the dog on a long line. So we're going to have like a 30 or 60 foot long line attached to us where the dog can move out. We're throwing the ball like 15 feet away. So the dog runs to go get this ball. They bring it back, okay, to us, because what we're doing is we're making ourselves very exciting. So as soon as they grab this ball, oh, come here, good boy, good boy, good boy, right? We're backing up, encouraging them to us. We have a second ball in our hand that we're taunting them with. Come here, good boy, good boy, good boy, right? As soon as they move to us, they get excited from the ball that's in our hand. We say out. The dog generally will just drop it, and then we say yes, and we toss the other ball. And we're just repeating that, okay? So in general, that's how we're going to do the out with fetch. And if you do that with fetch, and you do the out with tug that we just talked about, those two together, they will connect together. It will help the dog have a better understanding of the out command, and your out will be more reliable, all right? But again, just very quickly to review, and I would not teach an out with a ball and a string. It's very difficult to keep a ball and a string stable, because the important part of teaching the out with tug is that you can stabilize it by putting it right here into your power position, right? You can stabilize this so the dog can't reinforce itself. If I have a ball on a string and I try to stabilize it, I can still move this around, the dog's still having reinforcement, right? So it's much more difficult to teach with a ball on the string, okay? So I've got the tug, playing tug with my dog. Whenever I'm ready, I lock it in right here so that they cannot move this. I say out, right? I'm waiting. If they let go, I say yes, and then I let them play again, right? And I play very vigorously, and then I do another repetition of the out. I lock it in, out. They try to pull it, they can't. They let go, yes, right? So I'm doing repetitions of that, all right? If they don't out, what I do is I say no, tug on the leash, they let go, yes, okay? I play vigorously, I lock it in, out, they don't out, no, pop on the leash, they let go, yes, right? So that's the process that I'm doing to teach the dog out. The first couple times you do this, right, whenever you lock it in right here, you're probably going to be waiting for a while, a couple seconds, right, 20 seconds. You lock it in, out. They have no idea what you're saying, so they're just sitting there. They're holding on to it. But the split second that they show any inkling of letting go of this tug, because they don't know what's going on, they don't know what to do, you're teaching them this, yes, you let them play again, okay? So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if there's any comments on that. So that's how we're going to teach the out, ideally. And we do have a video coming up on that. And I'm going to make another video for you guys to show some troubleshooting with the out. So I just said that is the ideal way to teach the out. There's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some dogs that are struggling with that. So we're going to need to use some other training methods, some other training tools to help us do that. One of those methods is going to be using a back tie, because remember, with tug play, we want to preserve motivation and drive as much as possible. So we might be using a back tie, depends on the dog, right? I already told you if it's not going very well for you to use a prong collar as your training collar up high on the dog's neck, right? To help you get that extra sensation through the dog's high arousal mindset, right? And also to use the fetch play fetch with your dog, do out in fetch, because fetch and tug will help each other out with the out command, all right? So that's the out, all right? Last, let's talk about how are we going to build drive and grip development. I haven't thought about that. I haven't forgot about that yet, Jay. But how are we going to build drive with our dog, right, in the game of tug? How are we going to teach our dog to bite the tug in the back of its mouth, right? So let me just show you guys in an illustration right here. Okay, this is a dog's mouth, believe it or not. I just put a teeth there so you can actually visualize it, okay? Put some more teeth in there. Little eye, little ear. All right, so this is your dog. It's not an alligator. All right, but let's say you're playing tug and your dog, do another one with a smaller mouth here, okay? Let's say your dog holds the tug right here in its mouth. So that's the front of the dog's mouth, okay? Ideally, the dog holds it back here in the back of the mouth, okay? So how are we going to develop that? Number one, we're going to let our dog have more reinforcement anytime they try to scoot this tug deeper in the mouth by readjusting their grip, right? So let's say that we're playing tug, play. The dog has the tug at the front of the mouth, and then they adjust and they scoot it a little bit deeper. I'm going to play harder. I'm going to let them win the tug. They can walk around with it for a second, bring it back to me, right? So that is one way you're going to do that. The other way you're going to do that is the same method we're going to use to develop drive, to build drive, and that's with the back tie, okay? So if we are using a back tie to help us develop our game of tug, develop drive, this is what I recommend. okay? First of all, you're gonna need a harness. You're gonna need a harness that has a chest piece that does not choke the dog, right? When the dog pulls into the harness, we don't want it putting pressure on the trachea. It has to put pressure on the chest. It has to have very strong buckles on the harness, which could be metal buckles or heavy duty plastic buckles. And it has to have a clip on the back of the harness where we can clip our back tie too, okay? We also have a video coming out about this on YouTube for you guys that want a better visual, all right? But that's just the talking points. So you're gonna have your harness on your dog, and you're either gonna have a tree, right? So this is a tree. Gotta make sure I tell you guys what I'm drawing here, because I'm not that good at drawing, right? So you're either gonna have a tree, or you could have a fence post, right? So let's just say that you have a fence and that's your fence post, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna take a wire, a dog back tie wire that you can buy on Amazon. I would probably get a 15-foot one, 20-foot one, something like that, because you're gonna wrap it around this tree right here, and then you're gonna connect it to your dog, which is gonna be down here, okay? So this is just my little stick figure dog, okay? So you're connecting this back tie to your dog's harness, right? And it's very important to note that there's an angle to this back tie. So let's say your dog is at ground level right here. The back tie needs to be angled up so that your dog does not walk over this back tie or become tangled by it, because you could injure their leg. If they wrap their leg around it, then they're coming at you to get the tug, and they pull their leg up. That could tweak something. We don't want that. Same thing with a fence post. Let's say you're going to connect the back tie. You connect it to the dog. This is ground level right here. Okay, you connect it to your dog's harness. Okay, something like that. Again, this is very important that the back tie be connected to your anchor point, your tree or your fence post, at an angle that's higher than, an elevation higher than your dog's back. Okay, so that's the first thing. Number one, you need a harness. Number two, you need a back tie system, tree, fence post, back tie wire, dog back tie wire. You're going to connect it to the tree to your dog's harness. Okay, now your dog is limited to where they can go. And what you're going to do is, to build drive, you're going to be standing, right? You're going to be maneuvering out here with your tug. Okay, hopefully this is making sense to you guys, right? So I'm out here, my dog is at the end of the back tie. They cannot get to me. They can't get to me, right? Because I'm over here. They can only go this far. I've got the tug, which my dog wants, right? I'm going to help my dog want that tug even more. So what you're going to do is, can you back up just a little bit? So what you're going to do is, you're going to taunt your dog with the tug, right? So in prey drive, your dog wants to chase something. So what do they usually chase? A squirrel, a deer, a cat, a ball, whatever, right? So you have to move a little bit in a manner that puts this tug into motion for your dog to want to chase it. And an easy way to do that is to put your tug on the end of a leash like this, or on the end of a string, and you're basically going to be swinging it around, right? Your dog's on the back tie, you're going to be swinging it around, you're going to throw it on the ground right in front of your dog, and you're going to yank it away from him, right? So you're going to do this to make your dog want that tug even more, because what's happening is, you're over here taunting your dog. That's what you're doing, you're taunting your dog, because what we're doing is building frustration to increase the drive for the item, right? So we got the back tie, the dog can only go this far. I've got my tug, I'm taunting my dog, making them want it even more. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get close enough with the tug that allows the dog to barely bite on this thing. Okay? So the dog is still connected to the back tie. I move in to where the dog can bite a hold of this thing. As soon as they bite it, I'm going to, oh, good boy, right? I'm going to play with them, play tug with them. And they're frustrated because they're on this back tie. And you can actually put some tension into that back tie to build frustration. You can put slack into that back tie. I'm going to cover all that in live detail with a dog in a YouTube video for you guys, right? but we're doing the talk through right now. So I can put tension on it, I can release it a little bit, I can play, I can put more tension on it, I can let my dog win the tug, right? All these different things, right? So sessions like this are going to help you build drive with your dog because you're using frustration to your advantage, right? So you have to understand the concept here. You back tie your dog where they can't get to you in your tug, right? Ideally, this is how I did it with my own dog back in the day, building it up, right? You put it on a leash like this or a rope and you swing it around. You make it something that your dog wants, okay? You drop it on the ground in front of your dog, right when they're going to try and go for it, you jerk it away, right? You yank it away. You don't let them get it. Now, the trick is not overdoing the frustration, because if you over frustrate your dog, they're just going to lose interest. So you have to find just the right amount of frustration where they really want it really bad. And then whenever you reach that point, you're going to let them have a bite, right? And then once they have that bite, you're going to be playing with them on the back tie, right? And putting tension on the back tie and releasing slack into the back tie, okay? Now to wrap this discussion up and to answer Jay's question, this tactic right here, building drive, is how you actually are going to develop a strong grip in tug play, okay? So what you're going to do is you've been frustrating your dog. You let them have a bite on the tug. You put little tension on that back tie, right? So you make sure that line is tight and your dog is having to hold on to that tug because you're leaning away from them. And then you're going to give them some slack by moving in towards your dog. You're moving in, you're letting that back tie slack a little bit. As soon as that slacks, your dog should begin to develop the movement of biting harder on that tug. Then every time that your dog bites a little bit deeper, good boy, you play with them at that level. You let them feel good, you let them feel empowered, right? And then you just continue to develop that out, all right?
One more question. How often do you build drive with a back tie? A few minutes, a couple times a week, a few minutes every day, or what's the process?
Yeah, it's a good question. So how often are you going to do a back tie session like this to help build up drive? Okay, that's going to depend on you and your dog, but my recommendation would be a very short session in the morning if you can, very short session in the evening. So you could do 2 a days. If your dog's starting to get burnt out by that, then go to 1 time a day or once every other day, okay? If you don't have time to do it twice a day, and these sessions are going to be super short. They're going to be like 2 to 3 minutes most, because your dog's going to be smoked. You're going to be smoked, right? So if you don't have time to do it twice a day, just do it once a day if you can. That's what I started out with my dog. I would go to work, I'd come home, I would set up my back tie on my fence post, and then I would play tug. And one of the things I struggled with was my dog got too frustrated, so I was trying to push him too much. So I had to frustrate him just a little bit, let him have a good tug session on the back tie, then end the session, okay? And then come back the next day, do it again, and slowly build up the frustration to where he just didn't want anything but that tug. You know what I'm saying? Now he goes berserker for it, right? So that's what I would do. If your dog is going berserker for the tug, you could do more sessions if you wanted to, more back tie sessions, right? If your dog is struggling to get the drive necessary to play tug, make your sessions super short, right? That's your primary means of exercising your dog in that scenario. You take them out, you set up your back tie, you play tug with them, you go from there, okay? Hope that makes sense. Let us know your feedback. That does bring up a very important point though, which I'm glad that question was asked, because sometimes you put your dog on the back tie and they start to freak out. They're not used to being on a back tie. They've never felt that tension on their chest from the harness, right? So they may not be interested in tug on the back tie at first, which is what my personal dog did. And several of the dogs that I've worked with here in South Carolina have done. So what do we do in that case? In that case, we have to socialize the back tie. We have to desensitize the sensation from the back tie. We're going to do that in low drive. So we're going to take the tug out of it. We're going to take the ball out of it. We're going to set up our back tie, put our dog on the harness on the back tie. We're going to be feeding them food rewards on the back tie, having them back up with us with food so they feel the tension on the line. we step in so they feel the slack. We're feeding them food the whole time to desensitize the feeling of the back tie on the harness. Okay, the other thing you can do is simply walk with your dog on the back tie, walk back and forth just to get them used to the harness and the back tie and the feeling of the tension on the line. Okay, so those are two methods that you can use to desensitize the back tie if your dog's getting a little bit freaked out or weirded out by the harness and the back tie setup. Okay. So yeah, any other questions so far? All right, so that covers the basics here, guys. The main talking points. We talked about the background of tug. Remember, there's an old myth that playing tug with your dog is teaching your dog to dominate you. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I'm talking from my own experience here, right? Tug play is going to increase your relationship if you play it right. It's going to increase your bond if you play it right. It gives you more flexibility in your reward options for your dog. It allows you to achieve higher levels of engagement. It also gives you more flexibility in your socialization methods for your dog. Let's say your dog's uncomfortable at a hardware store like Lowe's Hardware that we have in the United States, right? They got slick floors in there. Some dogs are freaked out by slick floors. I've been in there playing tug with a dog that used to be scared of slick floors. Because I played tug on the slick floors, the dog doesn't care about the slick floors, then the dog overcomes the fear or uncertainty of the slick floor. So you can use it as a method of socialization. All right? Remember the rules. All toys, tugs, belong to the owner. You, the dog, must bring the toys back to the handler. So let me cover that real quick because I didn't go into enough detail on that. Right? This leash that you're playing with, all right, you're playing tug with your dog. You got the leash, which remember is your line of communication. Your dog must bring the toys back to you. So how do you teach that? You let the dog win the tug. You let this leash slack out. Your dog's going to be walking around, having a good time, thrashing the tug, having a good time, whatever. You're going to start backing up with the leash and reeling your dog in with the leash. So you're backing up, you're reeling your dog in. Your dog's going to just start coming for you. And you're like, good boy. And you grab the tug and you start playing with them, all right? So that's how you teach it. You're playing. You let your dog win the tug. Your dog walks out with it. They're having a good time. You start backing up. You might have to pull on that leash a little bit to encourage them to move in your direction. And then you're going to grab a hold of the tug and start playing again. So what you're teaching them is you're going to let them win the tug and have the tug, and they can walk around, carry it around, whatever. And you're going to back up and encourage them back to you. And you're not going to take it away. You're just going to play with them. Okay? Good to go?
Jay said thanks for the video. He's in the UK. There's 6 of them watching it together at 11:30 at night.
Oh, nice, nice.
It has been great watching the video.
Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you guys and gals, whoever's watching. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, as always, for the feedback. Hopefully you guys can find some use from this video. And also, me and Ben here, he's behind the camera. We're really putting together a really good tug playlist for you guys, and we're also doing some fetch videos to tie all this in together. But we wanted to have the discussion because I think that if you have the discussion piece and then you start to see it and you're practicing at home, I think it makes more sense. It did for me, all right? So the rules again, all toys and tugs belong to the owner. The dog must bring the toys back to the handler, which I just covered really quick. We'll cover more in detail in a future actual video playing tug with a dog. The dog must release the tug, must out, right? That's the word I use. You can use whatever word you want. The dog must out when asked. So those are the 3 rules of playing tug with your dog, okay? The principles of playing tug. Your dog, remember, your dog is going to be in high arousal, high drive, especially if you're doing this scenario right here and you're building up that drive. Your the drive is going to go crazy, right? As you start to figure this out, right? Your dog is the drive is going to start taking off like crazy. So your dog's going to be in high arousal, high drive. Just remember, when your dog is in high arousal, when it's in high drive, it's going to be more challenging, more difficult for your dog to think, to operate, right? So you got to keep that in mind. You got to help your dog out as much as possible, solving the problems of teaching these rules in a nonverbal manner, all right? Next principle, use a leash to help you teach the rules. Remember, I'm communicating with you guys on a video. I can talk to you in a verbal language. You can understand what I'm telling you, right? The dog cannot do that. The dog is a non-verbal being. So we have to teach them the rules. We have to teach them everything that we want them to do in a non-verbal way, right? So we have to speak their language, okay? So use a leash to help you do that. The leash is your line of communication. Get really good at the game of tug before you start taking the leash off, all right? Always be aware of the target that you are presenting. So just keep in mind, guys, what we talked about earlier, your body moves around the tug. You do not move the tug around your body, okay? Remember, if I do this, I'm setting myself up for a hand bite. Remember that 99% of the bites to your hand in tug are your fault, right? So move your body around the tug, keep the tug in a straight line that you have the dog operating in, okay? Keep it simple and have patience, right? So right here, there's gonna be times where you're frustrated. There's gonna be times where you set up this back tie system and maybe your dog's having a bad day, maybe you're having a bad day, maybe you're struggling, right? Have patience, take breaks as you need to, keep it simple. Maybe you're trying to rush too fast through this with your dog. Take baby steps, make it super simple for your dog, right? And then you and your dog should be having fun. So if you're not having fun, if your dog's not having fun, if you guys are just having an off day or an off week, take a day off, take a week off, just walk, right? Walk together, that's your bonding process. Play with some food, right? Change it up a little bit, then come back to the tug a day or a week later, and it should be better at that point as well, okay? And as always, guys, we're here to help you guys, right? That's why we're trying to get as much content out there for you guys as possible. Remember, we have Pack Talk podcast that you guys can listen to while you're driving or watch on YouTube. But Jay, we really appreciate you and your crew and all the viewers out there. And you guys, if you guys leave us comments and you tell us what you want to see, we're doing our best to put together videos to help you accomplish your goals, all right? So keep that in mind. And then also, if you guys can rate us on any platform you're watching, that does help us reach out to other people, okay?
One last question.
Yep.
How do you combat a dog that would rather bite the string on the ball and the string or the handle on the tug?
Yeah, so good question. If your dog is trying to bite the string on a ball and a string, I would not use the ball and the string for a little bit, okay? I would use a standard tug. And the reason being is it's just a lot more easy to help teach the proper tug behavior with this than this. So I always start off playing tug with this, and then I go to the ball and string later, okay? But if you're playing tug and your dog's trying to bite the handle, they're frustrated. They don't know what to do, right? So what you need to do is go back to the basics, make sure you have a proper target set up for your dog. If they're trying to bite this, you can cut them off, okay? Or you can fold them up like this where they can't access that. And the only thing they can bite is this right here, okay? So you've got to make sure that your targets are set up properly. If it's still being a challenge, like your dog's all over the place because it just has a lot of energy, it's really excited, it doesn't know what to do, I would recommend going to the back tie scenario, because what this does is it helps you have more control over where your dog's able to go, okay? And then you're able to step in and give a target very nicely and develop that targeting behavior. Once it's really developed right here, then you can get rid of the back tie and just use your leash like we were talking about, okay? Also, that brings up another point. The back tie scenario will also help you with the out, because if your dog is not on a back tie and you're teaching the out, for example, right? Your dog can come off and then it can like move all over the place. So if you have the back tie, your dog can only move in relation to where you have it back tied up to. So feel free to use a back tie to help you with that out as well, okay, as you're developing that. And we're gonna get video of all this for you guys in our tug playlist that should really explain a lot of the details of this, okay? You guys have any more questions? Okay.
So thanks.
Yeah, we'll give them a second for any more questions. You guys are welcome. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be doing the lives once a month at this point and continuing to push out regular videos and podcast as normal, okay? So if there's no other questions, we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and until next